The Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones seem to have been sitting pretty well up until about late Saturday evening when the New York Giants pulled off one of the biggest coups in recent NFL history. With that massive trade of Dexter Lawrence and accumulating another top 10 pick, it basically placed the Cowboys in a serious spot. Do we keep our 2 first-round picks, or do we trade up to get one of these elite prospects? While the rumblings have been the smart money was on star running back Jeremiah Love, Mel Kiper Jr. has it differently. Want to find out how he sees it and how Mr. CeeLo sees how the Cowboys need to do it? Find out on this pre-draft Cowboys edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style.
The autumn winds move like the thunderous waves of Neptune's sacred palace. And here, amongst the blackened soil, lies the ragged hands, worn, torn, and callous. They await with cunning and vicious prowess, for the warriors have returned.
Come on, Dutch! Don't do it! Woo! No way! Woo! 85! Crying out loud! You're making me, you're driving me nuts!
But behold,
Welcome back, Gabbers. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on this pre-draft Cowboys edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Once again, you are joined and gabbing with the one and only Mr. CeeLo. And guys, I hope you aren't like me. You aren't just staying in here playing the NFL draft nerd. I hope you're getting out because the weather is so nice here. My heart goes out to all of you up in Michigan, up in that area. I hope all of you are safe and God bless you guys. But down here in the South, it has been good fishing weather and I have not been able to get out. Big gab out to my wife because she's ready to go fishing. And I promise we're going to go fishing as soon as this draft stuff is over. Love you, baby. By the way, all you gabbers out there, if you got significant others, give them a hug. Tell them that you love them because you guys are going to be like me. Well, maybe some of you are not, but many of you are going to be like me. You're going to be glued to the TV, and I'll be in the studio bringing you at least the first round and the next 2 rounds on Friday and Thursday. So, guys, make sure you join the show. I will be live giving reactions and thoughts on what your team did. But right now, without further ado, let us get in to the Dallas Cowboys, whom right now are projected to have the 12th and the 20th pick in this year's draft. But Mel Kiper Jr. has projected that there is going to be a trade between your Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns to move up to the 6th pick. Now, on a previous show, I misread this and I wrote that the Cleveland Browns were the ones that were taking Sonny Styles. Incorrect. You, the Dallas Cowboys, are taking Sonny Styles.
Stop the cap.
Now, I honestly think this is a very, very good selection. I think you almost have to make this move if you're Jerry Jones because, needless to say, the player, and I'm going to be honest with you, do I think he makes this trade anyway? Of course. But the thing is, if Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love is on the board here, you know how Jerry Jones loves sexy picks. Jeremiah Love is the sexiest pick in this draft. Arguably the fastest player one of the fastest players in all the draft. Is a home run threat every time he touches the ball. He is a 3-level player. He is Christian McCaffrey 2.0. And that's not just blowing smoke. That's a fact. So, I think if Mel Kiper Jr.'s projection stays where it is, Cowboy fans, you can breathe a sigh of relief. But if he's on the board, y'all might be getting him. And see, the dangerous part about this is I don't see it, and I did a show about the Giants, and I don't want to talk about it, because I know how you guys feel about the G-Men. But the best thing that can happen to you guys is if the Giants make a huge mistake and take Caleb Downs over Sonny Styles. Now, let me say why this is a mistake. If you watch my New York Giants show, you'll know why this is a mistake. You can go back and do all the reading, but I'll give you a quick crash course. Because, in my opinion, Sonny Styles is the most coveted player, is more coveted than Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs is the better prospect, but you don't get very many linebackers that can do what he does. Now, I'm not saying you can get a whole bunch of guys that can do what Caleb Downs does. The thing is, he's not nearly as coveted as a linebacker that is an all do it you all type of linebacker. The guy is a raw pass rusher, but he can get to the quarterback. The guy can play all three linebacker positions. He's very good in run stoppage. He's got quick feet. Matter of fact, he ran a 40 that was faster than Caleb Downs. So, in essence, you're looking at a complete football player. He can cover, he can tackle, he can stop guys in the hole, he can blitz. This is exactly what you want in Dallas. And if the G-Men are crazy enough to let this guy walk, I think if you're Jerry Jones, you have to run this trade to the Browns. As soon as they say the New York Giants select Caleb Downs, safety, Ohio State. If you Jerry Jones, you got the phone in your hand and you got the last button to push for the Cleveland Browns. You gotta make that deal as soon as that name is read. Because realistically, if you get this guy on your defense, he essentially could be your Micah Parsons Part 2. The only difference is you'd have to go into the draft and get another guy to take his spot. I'm just keeping it in perspective because Micah Parsons, you guys remember how raw he was, but here's the thing. Look at how fast... This is a guy, if he's not what you could... See, Micah Parsons wasn't a real... what you would call a straight pass rusher. He was a guy that was just trying to get to the quarterback. He didn't care how he got there. And look how good he was. Sonny Styles is a former safety. He bulked up and moved the linebacker. This absolutely... Cowboy fans, if you get Sonny Styles, you can make up the rest. And it'll be great when you guys hear what I had you guys do in my mock draft. Okay, so you lost the 20th selection, which means you guys ended up with that Cleveland Browns selection later on in the second round. And I don't have a problem with the selection that you guys made. However, I still think, despite that you got rid of Diggs, definitely a cornerback would be... to order if you guys kept the 20th pick. But I think, Delane and company would be off the board after, that took place. But needless to say, to me, I would say, hearing all of the rumblings coming out of Dallas, I would say a guy like, if you weren't sold on Sonny Styles, you could very well take, a guy like Anthony Hill Jr. or Jacob Rodriguez in the second round. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to say. We don't want that. Look, there's a huge drop-off between them, and you could argue that. But I simply say that, cornerbacks, you just have to weigh the option. And I'm not saying you take either one of those guys over Sonny Styles, and I'm not saying that at all. But if you, as Dallas, feel like Sonny Styles is not the player for you, you could take one of those corners at number 12 and then arguably come back, trade that 20th pick, and get one of these fine linebackers. Because here's the reality. The drop-off is not massive, but the athleticism is between Hill and Rodriguez compared to Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles does it all. He is a Swiss Army knife on the defense, much like Caleb Downs. They just play registered different positions, so to speak. But as I said, looking at what Mel Kiper Jr. has done here by giving you guys Chris Johnson, cornerback out of San Diego State. Like I said, he has 4.4 speed, but the size is just a problem for me. He had 9 pass defenses and 4 interceptions. Mel Kiper said he would probably be in his cornerback 3 in this class when his rankings drop next week. So, like he said, this could be a steal. I just have a lot of issues with these boundary guys that are going to be light. And of course, me being a Panther fan, you guys, I like big corners. I love big corners. Absolutely love them. And like I said, I'm not talking about size as everything. Footwork is important. Hip tightness is an actual issue. But realistically, you can't go wrong with a corner here at this point because, that's a player or a position that you guys have a need in. But let us look at Mr. CeeLo's mock draft for the Dallas Cowboys. And let us look here. I actually got a B+ for this. So, and I also got all of your picks back, including, yeah. So, at number 10, I was able to trade up and get Sonny Styles with the 10th pick. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, wait a minute, how is Sonny Styles going to be here? Well, just a lot of trading around, I guess a lot of snoozing, so to speak. Then I was able to take the 24th pick and get offensive tackle Blake Miller. And whether people want to admit it or not, this is a relative need for the Cowboys. You've got to... Basically, that offensive line is starting to age. And what Jerry Jones was doing a great job of building the foundation in front of Dak Prescott, and really they have not had a great running game the last couple of years because the offensive line has not been that efficiently blocking. But you bring in a guy like Blake Miller who can play both positions. He's very flexible, and you could end up having a guy, if you get to a place where you need it, you can draft a high quality left tackle in the future, you can move him to right. Then at the 32nd pick, you get arguably the oldest star in this draft in Akeem Mesidor, the brilliant, strong, beastly edge rusher out of Miami who rolled with Ruben Bain. To me, yes, he's 25 years old, but I've always said that a lot of teams are going to run away from this kid because, he's 25 years old. Or as in a lot of places, they say he's off his parents' insurance. I think he's got a motor that just keeps going. He reminds me a lot of a bigger Micah Parsons, but he's a lot closer to the size of Myles Garrett. Maybe not as freakishly athletic, but the guy has a motor that don't quit. But he has to go to a team that is ready to win now. And I know a lot of people say the Cowboys ain't ready to win. You could argue they are. Now, yes, they are rebuilding that defense. But all it takes is a couple of the right pieces, because the Cowboys can score against anybody. All they have to do, and I think their mantra for next season on this defense is going to be, get at least 2 stops on scoring drives that the offense has. And don't give up anything when we don't score. If they can keep that attitude, they can win a lot of games. I know it's easier said than done because most of the time when a team comes out and gets scored on, their next motive is to score. You want to keep it even keel. But then with the 57th pick, I took, and I love this guy. If you guys watch me, anytime this guy is available past his threshold or where he's ranked, I'm taking him. And that's Treydon Stukes, the corner out of Arizona. Actually got an A+ for that pick and Akeem Mesidor's. Treydon Stukes is a very interesting prospect because he can play the slot, he can play strong safety, he can play field safety or free safety. This is a type of flexibility that the Cowboys need, because for a team that didn't necessarily run the 3-4, they like to do a lot of pressure. They like to bring a lot of pressure on defense, mainly because they are very, they don't get a lot of pressure. But they with 4, they get a whole bunch of pressure when they bring a bunch of guys. It's almost how they live. So this is an excellent pick. And then you look at number 66. You take safety Genesis Smith out of Arizona. Treydon Stukes' running mate. This is a guy that can cover a lot of field. He's actually just as versatile. well, Traden Stukes is a little bit more versatile. He can actually play both safety positions. Now, the one thing about Genesis Smith that's a knock is he's not as clean a tackler as Stukes is. So he's what you call a pure safety, but when you look at the way Arizona played, they played a lot of positionless football back in that back end. But Genesis Smith brings that safety type feel to the game. And realistically, the Cowboys are going to need as many good, fast guys in that secondary as they need, with Diggs being gone. And then with the 86 pick, I took guard Jennings Dunker out of Iowa. This was a little bit high of a selection because the Cowboys do need to upgrade that guard position. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be elite, but I do think he's a great run blocker. May need to work on those feet a little bit, but he's a mauling offensive guard. And like I said, I got a C- because I had to reach for that one. He was the last real quality guard. Well, let me say it. Starter quality guard in this draft. And then with the 101st pick, I took Darrell Jackson out of Florida State. Now, I got a B- for this one because the need is not overly big here, at least to this selection. I think it's a big need when you can get a big guy like Darrell Jackson, who's borderline 6'6", and weighs over 300 pounds. This is a guy that, in my opinion, is going to be one of the premier block eaters. He's going to be massive. If the Cowboys can snatch this guy up, in my opinion, he is going to be absolutely a monster to deal with. And realistically, the Cowboys need as many big bodies in there as possible, especially if they take a guy like Akeem Mesidor. And I'm not saying he's a little guy. What I'm saying is if he can get in there and he can make some serious noise, especially given the fact that you're looking at Akeem Mesidor is like 6'5", 280 pounds. I mean, think about it. This is a guy that really, really is quick for his size, and he is a matchup nightmare for tackles that, 1 minute you're preparing for power, and then he's able to slip inside on you and able to get around you and so on and so forth. But when I look at what the Cowboys have to be able to do, the one mistake Jerry Jones cannot make with this draft, he cannot fall in love with Jeremiah Love. As much as I think Jeremiah Love is one of the most generational talents that this league is going to see. He's going to be absolutely phenomenal. But unless he falls, and Cowboy fans, I want you to hear me well. They cannot fall in love with the guy whom is not going to fix their defense. I'm just keeping it in perspective. Now, if you can get Sonny Styles at 10 and then possibly do some maneuvering and trade up out of 20 and get in there, I would say this, and here's what I would do. If they can wait patiently, I don't think Sonny Styles will be there past 5. I really don't. It would be amazing if he was. I think the Cowboys are going to have to trade up and get Sonny Styles. I think you wait until pick number 6 to see what the New York Giants do. Unless you absolutely are sold to Sonny Styles, you better trade up and get him before the Giants do. I honestly think the Giants are going to snatch him up. I don't see Mel Kiper Jr. being right about this one. I really don't. I don't see him being right. I think that he's going to go. But, guys, if Sonny Styles is there at number 6, you have to figure out a way. Even if you got to give up your first next year. I think you give up your first next year. I wouldn't give away my first. I wouldn't give away my 20th pick. I would try to find some way to give up that next pick that the Cowboys have and then figure out some way to give up, to keep that 20th pick. So some way you got to keep that 20th or trade back in so you can get Jeremiah Love. That's the only way you get Jeremiah Love if you're Jerry Jones. But it's imperative that you get Sonny Styles. Imperative. Let me know what you guys think about my mock draft as well as what Mel Kiper Jr. has you guys slated to get. Do you like the selection or do you don't? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification so you can get all my content as it is released. Don't forget, we will be here at 6 o'clock live to follow the NFL draft and to give you guys some insight and some possibilities of what could go down. And we discuss what the Cowboys and that entire NFC East needs to do. Also, make sure you go over to the Facebook page of Gridiron Gab Pro Style. Check us out over there. Join the group as well as add us as a friend so you can catch up and be a part of polls, discussions, and other ideas that we will be placing on the show. And you will get a gab out as well, just like you will get a gab out if you leave a comment here. Finally, make sure you go over to my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo if you want to chop it up a little bit about what has went down this weekend. Or if you want to chop it up about anything, name the team and I'll name my thoughts. Also, make sure you're nice. Because, it's just a discussion. It's just banter. Nothing serious. But until the next time, stay safe, be cool, and remember, we'll see you on that same Gab channel, same Gab platform.
But behold, there is a warm breeze that comes from the west. The blazing sounds of victory fuel their everlasting quest. It is a call to arms, for they are here. An army that has the will to challenge and the will to dare.